Well, hello, this is Scott McMeans with the Business Spotlight. I am very happy that I have Farmer Lee Jones from the Chef's Garden with us today. He's in Huron, Ohio, and he is going to tell us a whole lot about what brought him to the very stage he sits on right now with all those delicious foods and those overalls. He's got something to tell you, everybody. So let me introduce you to Farmer Lee Jones. If you would please, Lee, explain a little bit about yourself, how you got to where you are, and the microphone and the camera are yours, sir. Go right ahead.
Hey, great. I'm excited to be on with you today. Thanks for having us. We're located about 2.9 miles inland from Lake Erie in Huron, Ohio. Uh, it's an amazing microclimate along the ridge here of the lake. The glaciers were extremely heavy. The ground, the soil, very fine. It's some of the richest sandy loam in the world. And at one point, our county, Erie County, had the largest concentration of vegetable growers of any county in the world. Now you can say, wait a minute, what about California, where entire counties are 100% agriculture from the north to the south to the east to the west? It is true, but those are each 5 or 10 or 20,000 acre farms. These were small, what they called truck farms, and there were over 300 truck farms in Erie County. They harvested their products during the day. They took them in, loaded the trucks, and took them in, and they went to farmers markets. Entirely different than what we think of today as a farmers market. They went in and met all the family-owned grocery stores. Listeners, can you think of the family-owned grocery stores that were there when you were a kid that have disappeared? It's kind of the Walmart syndrome all over again. But years ago, you go back into the 40s and the 50s, and those family-owned grocery stores each had a buyer. And the farmers markets were all those grocery store buyers. We had regional distribution right in our grasp, and we allowed, through the infinite wisdom of economy of scale, to be able to bring product from everywhere across the world and make it an efficient system. And we've lost that regional distribution that we try now so desperately to regain. So it's exciting. We started out in the 50s. My dad did. He went to work for a very progressive vegetable farmer, Charles Nichols, who recognized the competition finally starting to come from outside states because roads and refrigeration. Yeah, that's right. Roads and refrigeration started to improve to the point where you could bring product from Arizona, California, the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, in warmer climates where they had a longer season. And so that product started coming into this area. Mr. Nichols recognized that competition coming. And so he worked cooperatively with about 65 other growers and made the investment of packaging, sorting, sizing, distribution, marketing, and they were able to compete for many years. And their customers were larger chain stores that were moving in. I don't know if some of your listeners might remember the old Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company, A&P, Kroger, Big Bear, Pick and Pay. Those were Mr. Nichols' customers. Mr. Nichols had no children that wanted to take over the farm. In the 60s, my mom and dad bought that farm from him. By then, less and less farms were farming because those farms were going out of business. And so my father continued to increase his acreage. And when I was 15 or 16 years old, about the time my dad started to work for Mr. Nichols, mom and dad owned that farm, and we were farming about 1,200 acres of fresh market vegetable. And we were shipping every place east of the Mississippi River, and predominantly with our trucks. Some of the listeners might be old enough to remember the interest rates hit 22%. And we had a hailstorm that wiped out the crops. Now, if you can imagine the perfect scenario for a disaster, we were borrowing money as a small family farm at 22%. We were selling product to A&P and Kroger and Big Bear, these large chains, and they were paying us in 120 days with zero interest, let alone the hailstorm that wiped out the crops. Sum and substance, the banks, when I was 19 years old, I stood literally 50 yards from right where I'm standing today and watched them auction every single thing that we owned off, every piece of equipment, every tractor, my mother's car, our house, and literally we crawled away. Now, I'm not trying to paint a rags to riches story by any stretch of the imagination, and that's not what it is. We started back over on 6 acres. My dad never felt comfortable with the system of following what the university was recommending in the way that we grew product. If you follow the money, the pharmaceutical companies, the chemical companies making tons of money, lots of margin. They give grants to the universities and say, hey, we'd like to give you a grant for $10 million to be able to do research to help the farmers. And of course, that research needs to include our chemicals. And so when you have a problem with a disease, excuse me, or an insect, here's what you do to get rid of that. It's much like our Western culture of medicine today. It's always putting a Band-Aid on the problem. You got a strep throat, you get a penicillin or amoxicillin or a viacillin. It's treating the problem really way too far down the line. So as devastating as it was to lose the farm, it gave us an opportunity to rethink what we were doing. If you look back 100 years, pre-chemical, pre-synthetic fertilizer, the nutritional levels were 50 to 70% higher, and the occurrences in health diseases that are now at a 3,000% increase in 100 years: kidney, liver, heart, cancer disease, attention deficit disorder, autism, childhood obesity, allergies, and diabetes. In a 100-year period, a 3,000% increase, while in that same time period, a 50 to 80% decline in the nutritional levels. So losing the farm gave us an opportunity to rethink it. Why? Why in the world was it, without the technology, without a lot of the resources that we have available today, were those farmers able to grow product that was 50 to 80% higher in nutrition, nutrient density, nitrate oxides than we are today? It's because of the way that we're farming. We're killing the biology, killing the biodiversity in the soil. When you put a fertilizer on, it's not being broken down by the biology into a form that the plant can pick it up. It runs off into the lakes, which is 2.9 miles from here, and we're growing beautiful algal bloom because the biology is alive in the lake, and so it's breaking that food down, and we're growing algal bloom that's now causing problems with fresh water. So my dad had a saying: the only thing we're trying to do is get as good as the growers were 100 years ago. And in many cases, that's really true. So we're using technology, we're using research today that is available to us that wasn't then, but it's really, you are what you eat. And so if you can get your mind around the idea, and maybe some of the listeners, maybe you've even said it or heard your parents say it at some point: oh, I think I need some vitamin D, I'm going to go get some sunshine. Is it true? Is it folklore? You've heard it said. Maybe we say it jokingly. There's so much more truth to it than people understand. If you can get your mind around the idea that your body is a receptacle for energy from the sun, it's not such a far bridge to recognize. If we can do lab analysis on the soil, and what I mean by that is just like if you were to go and have blood work drawn at the hospital, yep, or and you find that you're high in iron, low in iron, high in calcium, low in calcium, all the mineral inputs or outputs, and find out what the deficiencies are. What's really cool and what's really exciting, it is our personal belief, not trying to cast my aspersions on anybody that's listening, it's our personal belief that God designed a system far superior to anything we can fake out chemically or synthetically. It's about working in harmony with nature rather than trying to outsmart it. So once we find out what those mineral deficiencies are, we plant crop specific. And what's really cool about that is different types of plants will harvest different types of energy from the sun: clover, alfalfa, buckwheat, rye, vetch, barley. We have a 15 species planting. 2/3 of our acreage is committed to harvesting energy from the sun. We used to think that in between the rows needed to be weed-free and clean. Now we're planting cover crops. You're harvesting that energy, it goes down through the roots, it's feeding the biology. The plant that you're growing to consume is picking that back up. In some cases, we're seeing 50, 150, in some cases, 300% increases in the nutritional levels of the vegetables. It's exciting. It's not all doom and gloom. We can change this. If listeners get a chance to watch a documentary called Kiss the Ground, we're not part of it, but Kiss the Ground is a really good documentary. The sequel to that is called Common Ground, that's just rolling out. It talks about the devastation that we've done to the soil. And, all life, we believe, starts with healthy soil. Healthy soil makes healthy vegetables, which make healthy people and the healthy environment. Now, I get a little bit excited about this stuff, but I'm going to take a pause and see if I've headed completely off direction for you.
Lee, no, the information is incredible. I think the opportunity that people have to learn a little bit about the difference between what it used to be, what it was, and what you plan it to be. It seems like, and I wrote this down, we want to be as good as the growers were 100 years ago. And that effort is going to push not only the increase in nutritional value, but the efficiency in harvesting the energy necessary to keep growing the plants and vegetables, everything else you got going in your system to make sure that it's not only sustainable, but it is robust and it can have longevity. Am I right with that?
Spot on. We're following a philosophy of regenerative agriculture. And in a crux, really, that's how it's defined, is rebuilding that soil and creating healthy food, which in turn creates healthy people and a healthy planet. All of those are a factor in regenerative agriculture. Reducing erosion, building the biology and the life in the soil.
Love it. So walk me through a little bit about the systems that you have in place and the people that you have working there. How big is the operation?
We're a flea on the end of the tail on the end of the dog in comparison with other agricultural monoculture places. We only have 400 acres. 2/3 of that in any one year is committed to harvesting energy from the sun. And the other fourth of that is growing the crops, the highest quality, the most nutritious, the most flavorful, clean food that we humanly know how to do. And we're trying to emulate growers from 100 years ago, pre-chemical, pre-synthetic fertilizer, taking care of the land, taking care of the people, taking care of the environment. And that's really the crux of what we're trying to do.
That's outstanding. How many people do you have working with you on the farm?
We hope all of them. That is a
Say
little
that again?
humor there. We hope all of them.
Perfect. Yes. Sorry, I didn't catch
Okay,
it.
I'll answer
So
the
how many
question.
people? Put it this way:
we
how many
have
people are on the payroll?
we have about 168 full-time team members, and they
Wow.
are
Okay.
the essence and the absolute most important part of our farm. It's not land, it's not tractors, it's not greenhouses, it's people. And I'm extremely proud to work with this team that we have. We have great people that are committed to regenerative agriculture and committed to the family farm. We have 1,000 years of experience here on the farm. I'm not talking about experience at another farm that they brought here. I'm talking about second and third generation folks that have been here and have been committed to this way of growing and creating clean food. We have a profit sharing program. We're extremely proud of that. We're all committed to trying to grow clean food and to take care of each other and our community and to try and make the world a better place.
Outstanding. Lee, how do you find those people in today's environment? One of the biggest challenges most small businesses have is attracting and keeping a solid workforce. How is it that you have a group of highly talented, highly committed people on your team? 168 is a large number. So how do you keep those people engaged? What is it about what you're doing that is different than what you know or have experienced elsewhere? In addition or outside of the profit share program, what is it about what you're doing that separates you from any other business that you're aware of?
Well, it's been our generation that's really screwed things up. I think the young generation recognizes the importance of taking care of the earth, taking care of the environment, to grow clean food. They're savvy, they're smart, they're well read, and they want to be a part of doing the right things. I think that if you bring people on and they don't feel like they're making a difference in society, to the environment, to the world, then they're not going to stay. They're going to move on. This is a pretty sexy thing to be working in right now. We think that soil is pretty cool and it's fun. We have a lot of fun. We work hard and we're committed towards growing clean food and taking care of our environment and taking care of each other and taking care of our community.
I love it. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that soil is sexy, but I think that you've just made a very profound statement for people to either pay attention to or at least get interested in because they're going to get better food out of it. Does that make sense?
It does, because it's so important to our sustainability as a society. This system is not sustainable as we have it today. I also believe that if we don't get some support in Farm Bill, that the majority of fresh fruits and vegetables will be imported. That number continues to increase, where product is being imported from a third world or from another country where labor is very, very much cheaper. It creates a extremely difficult situation, and there's no controls on those chemicals. So the food that's coming in is really suspect. So we're really committed to trying to build a system and a model that works, that we can continue to grow good, clean food right here in America.
Now, you made comment in the earlier part of the interview here that because of the way the glaciers cut through this area, it is some of the best loam, I think you said, some of the best
Sandy
loam
loam, yeah.
in the world. Is that still true as far as the Northeast Ohio? Is that still a regular statement that you feel comfortable saying?
Yes, it is.
Okay. With that in mind, what is it that you need to help you move forward with going from 400 acres to maybe perhaps a larger number of acres and building a bigger presence for yourself, Chef's Garden, and the effort you're trying to do? What is it that you need?
Look, the reality is we're not going to feed the world. We're okay with being a small family farm and trying to do things right and for the right reasons. The biggest process is for folks to understand what clean food is, what it takes to produce, that you're going to perhaps pay a little bit more upfront for it. There's an old adage, and I'm not the first to say it, and I won't be the last, but you can pay the farmer, you can pay the doctor. And ultimately, clean food is cheaper than pharmaceuticals. We're focused on trying to be able to provide healthy food for folks to be able to purchase and to be a part of. I think it's really an educational process, and we're in that pioneering front lead of that. We're not ever going to be a 40,000 acre farm. Our goal is not to be a 40,000 acre farm. Do we want to continue organically to grow a base that understands the difference in monoculture and growing in a regenerative agricultural way? Absolutely. So our goal has never been to be big. It's to try and do things the right way for the right reasons and to take care of the people and the land and the environment. And that's really our goal.
I love it. I appreciate that. The people, the land, and the environment. It's a good message for people to understand what is it you're trying to do. So when you're putting all this together, obviously you've gone from hailstorms, inflation, and I don't want to bring up the bad stuff, but you've been through some rough times and literally lost the farm. And now that you've built it back up and you are standing in a beautiful market, you've got people bustling behind you that are clearly shopping and getting their wares and the food that they need. It's clearly been a success. What would you say, Lee, are some of the challenges that you've overcome or the lessons that you've learned that somebody else could take off of you and say, yep, that's something I can learn as well? What are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned?
If you don't define your goal, you'll never reach it. And I think that without clearly defined goals and sharing those clearly and being very transparent with everybody on the team, and internally and externally, you can't reach or achieve those goals. So I think that's really super critical. In some cases, government intervention in things that they don't fully think through the entire process of the ramifications of. And I always try and avoid political. We try and keep our nose down, our mouths shut, and try and do the best we can. And I'm not leaning towards one political side or another. That's really not what my comment is directed towards. It's just in general, some of the rules and regulations really are tough on small family farms. So the next generation has come back to the farm. We're excited about that. Some of them, all of them, Probably everybody here could be making more money someplace else, but they believe in the purpose, they believe in the goal. It's transparent, and we're all working towards a common goal. And I think that that's really critical to
Like that.
making sure an org chart becomes even more critical in a small family farm than maybe even corporate. And I know they're extremely important in a huge corporation, but I think maybe on a small family farm, maybe even more important. It's a family business. My dad had a saying that we had to continue to make mistakes at a faster rate than the competition. And he also said that we do mistakes quite well, and we damn well better learn from them. He also talks about being on the right set of tracks, and if you're not moving fast enough, you can still get run over. There has to be a sense of urgency all the time, and we have to continue to learn. We have to keep getting better. We have to keep trying things. We have to be willing to make mistakes and give our team the authority and the freedom and the will to make mistakes, because we're trying things and we're going to fail at some stuff. And as soon as you figure out that it's not a success, then you move on and you don't do it again. And you keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward.
I
like
hesitate to give advice to anybody else. Everybody's got to make their own mistakes. But if you don't define your goals, you'll never get there.
No, I
Clearly
agree with
define
that.
them.
You know, the old saying is a goal without a plan is a wish.
Yeah,
Right.
I like that. Yeah.
So let's think about the next step for you. What is the opportunity for what's next? Is there something that is on your written goals that people should be aware of? What's next for Chef's Garden?
Health and wellness. We
Lee, that's
believe
good.
that, you know, Hippocrates said, "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." We want food as health. I think that everybody thinks of the bad cough syrup that we had to take as a kid when they think of medicine. This is good stuff. The healthy stuff can be good and good for us. We have a facility and a division of the farm called the Culinary Vegetable Institute. And we have a team of chefs that work. In fact, we're doing a photo shoot today. They work with these ingredients. They come up with great recipes. They come up with great, they're doing a photo shoot today to show not only how good it looks, but you know, not only that, but you can share those recipes and people can understand how good, great food can taste.
I love that. No, that's fantastic. The education is the biggest part, and this has been a very solid education, Lee. I appreciate you being so open. I appreciate you letting people into your world, the ups and downs, the roller coaster that it was to get the farm to where it is today. And I appreciate the efforts, because small businesses are the heart and soul of this country. And when we start losing them, we start losing our heart and soul. So I appreciate everything that you've done to bring this business to where it is. I have one final question for you. And it's going to be interesting because I've already heard you talk about your youth, but I always like to ask, if you were to sit down on a park bench next to the 18-year-old Lee Jones, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Define the goals, make sure that people get excited about what we're doing. They come in and say, "Gee, you could be doing this, or you could be doing this, or you should be doing this." And they could be exactly right if it defined the goal. It's exciting what we're working on. But sometimes you can get down a rabbit hole or a rabbit trail, and you all of a sudden you find yourself way off, far off of where you're trying to get. And understanding that there can be opportunities that maybe you're going to have to pass on. Maybe somebody else in the industry is going to have to pick those up. And making sure that you stay on the right trail. You're going to get knocked off. Get back up. It's going to, if you can clearly define those goals, no matter what happens, no matter how many times you get knocked down, you always know that you get back on and you're still going towards the same thing. I had my father was old school, tough as nails, has had every hardship that you can imagine in his life and combined by 10. My son came back to work on the farm. He had new ideas, and the two of them would butt heads like crazy. And finally, I told both of them at one point, if you guys would stop and listen to each other and recognize you're both going towards the same goal, It's just that the 18-year-old may have a different idea on how to get there. It doesn't matter how we get there, as long as we know where we're trying to go and we know that we're all going in the same direction. That's the beauty of the freedom of being able to bring all these brilliant minds together. If we've clearly defined that goal, we allow people to make their mistakes and we're still moving towards the same goal. We get to the same place, but there's no singular path that's going to be able to do it. But don't allow yourself to go too far down the rabbit hole and get too far off of your path. The downs aren't done. There's going to be ups and there's going to be downs, and the downs aren't done. COVID was an enlightening experience for us. It was shades of the early 80s when we lost the farm. The farm market here is a result of COVID because the community was begging for healthy, safe, clean food. And so we opened a farm market. We launched a nationwide home delivery where folks can go online and be able to get product and ship it directly to their home. There's no middleman in anything that we do. It's direct to the user of that, whether that would be a chef that we're sending product to, or if we're sending it to you at your home. If you have an Aunt Matilda in Tampa and she already has 3 of everything and you don't know what to get her, but you know you need to get her a gift, what better is there to say, I'm going to give you a box of healthy vegetables because I love you and I'm concerned about your health and well-being. It not only helps you from a physical standpoint, but a mental standpoint, and it's a brilliant gift. We love to do corporate gifting. What a great gift for somebody to be able to give their entire staff or their customers a gift with messaging from us or from you in that box that says, we care about your health. We'd love to give you something that's going to take care of you, and it's also going to take care of the environment. And that's pretty exciting.
That's outstanding. There's so much in that last segment of what you're capable of doing. I hope everybody takes time to visit the website, take a look at your different social media accounts. Everything will be in the description down below, but I encourage people to take a look at what Farmer Lee Jones and his team of people are doing at the Chef's Garden. Lee, thank you for your time. I appreciate you being here. And we will see everybody soon on the next edition of the Business Spotlight.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having us.
My pleasure.